Boom. And just like that, we're back. What's going on, my beautiful leftoids? By the way, somebody came up with leftovers, and I just realized why that was so familiar to me. That's the old Ethan Klein. That's the old Ethan Klein Hassan podcast. We can't use leftovers. We can't use the leftovers. Beta! What's going on? Smoke One Kenobi, Sig Fang, Architect of Sin, Maneater, the beautiful Maneater 087, and Rough Rider 86. Should you drink coffee at 8:30 p.m. Eastern? I'd say do not do that. If it was Friday, I say let's go. But don't you worry. Check this out. Check out this shirt. I wanted to wear it to my in-laws' house, but Maneater won't let me. I hope everybody's doing well today. It is Monday, which don't mean a damn thing to me. You know, every day could be Monday, and every day could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever I want it to be. For now, we'll see what happens. I need that shirt. I wish I knew where I got it. You know, I wish I could be a good leftist and be like, I found it from this place I bought it off an Instagram shop. Okay. My mom loves Luigi, but my stepdad will not think it's funny. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Shit has been wild. Shit has been crazy. And I hope everybody out there is doing well. I know that um it is not normal times indeed. I know a lot of people like to pretend that it's all like, well, we were all used to this, and oh, maybe it's new to you, da 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 da. And I'm like, nah, nah. Racism has always been there. White supremacy has always been there. But this shit that's happening right now, at least for our lifetime, this shit is unprecedented. I don't care what anybody says. Um, if you go to TikTok shop and type in Luigi shirt, you'll find it. Yo, yo, yo. Wrestling won't allow that because only certain shows come on certain days. Won't allow what? Oh man, legit fascism. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And like I said, I do want to emphasize in our lifetime because I mean, when people start talking about this is the scariest, this is the worst the US has ever been, you know, conservatives are usually the ones saying that, but you know, people on the left will say that too. And you always got to remind them we did slavery. And yes, I know it hasn't gone anywhere. And yes, I know they just transferred it to the prisons, but um I'm not so sure I'm comfortable. Like I know what they did, right? They transferred it to the prisons, but I don't know if I'm still comfortable making a 1-to-1, right? You know what I'm saying? Like a 1-to-1 to chattel slavery. Uh like our president doesn't have like a little our side door to the rape room of his favorite enslaved, woman. So, I would dare say it was darker times then. But as far as in our lifetime, this is no bueno. This is no bueno. I started practicing no politics Sunday. My blood pressure is thanking me. That's actually not a bad idea, C Rouse. That is probably not a bad idea at all. I need to do that with Marvel Rivals. I need like no Marvel Rivals Sunday or no comp on Marvel Rivals Sundays. Something like that. I'll figure it out. What's up, DSB? DSB. So what do we got today? I think today is gonna be a little. It's gonna be simpler. It's gonna be simpler. I don't have a whole list of headlines because it is Monday, and headlines come on the Fallout report. Um, Maybe the president doesn't, but the warden probably has a key or a side door. You are not lying. Finally made a live stream on time. The true hero. What's going on? Hey, remember, you're always on time. Anytime you show up, it's on time. The U.S. is now on humans. Is on the Human Rights Watch. Is he? Is he really? U.S. added to Human Rights Watch list for narrowing freedom and now ranks near Serbia and Congo. And you know what's wild about that? You know what's wild about that right there is that will mean nothing to people. Nothing. People will see that right there. And when I say people, let me be clear. When I say people, I mean like them, right? I use that term loosely. I mean maggots. That's it. That's an eye roll right there. That's a, oh my God, so melodramatic, blah, 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 right? And it's like, I don't know about all that. U.S. added to Human Rights Watch list for narrowing freedom and now ranks near Serbia and Congo. Nonprofit organization says the U.S. is now considered a country with faltering civic freedoms. Faltering civic freedoms. Anytime I show up as on time, can you tell my boss that? Well, I mean, you know what? You gotta advocate for yourself. You have to go out there, you just gotta put the foot down and say, hey, I'm gonna something. I don't know if I call it a beatdown. I was frustrating to watch him define the prompts and wander off topic as it was to hear them make their asinine arguments. Maybe. Somebody on the threads said, I don't know if I'd call it a beatdown. It was as frustrating to watch him let them redefine the prompts and wander off topic as it was to hear them make their asinine arguments. So yeah, we are going to talk about Sam Seder. Sam Seder was on the Jubilee. Now, y'all know I cannot stand Jubilee. I cannot stand Jubilee. I cannot stand the channel, not because I think they're malicious or anything, not because I just think the content is irresponsible at best. It's let's put an expert in the room and then have a bunch of non-experts try to like yell at the person, see who can yell the loudest. They started doing fact checks, but I mean, like, you're gonna fact check every little thing, and you can't fact check everything because then you're gonna look biased. Because if you notice, fact check websites typically favor the left, and so they're always called woke. They're always called like they're biased. And like, why do you think they're biased? Because look at this last debate. All they did was list all the times Trump lied, and they never said anything about Biden or blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, do you think there might be a reason for that, homie? you think there might be a reason for all that? But today I have to make an exception because one of my favorite, if not the favorite, personality on the YouTubes is Sam Seder. Why so late? What do you mean? Sketchy got hands? Why so late? I started at 8:30. Remember, early, you missed it. Whenever you show up on time, whenever you show up is on time. Remember that. Don't let your boss tell you different. And if he fires you, it's not my fault. I release all liability for any lost compensation. I started at 8:30. 8:30 is not bad. It's always like 8 or 8:30. Like if I show up at 9, that 9's bad. Jubilee knows they ain't shit most of the time. They out for that cheddar. That's exactly right. So, Sam Seder is probably one of the smartest, entertaining without being like too goofy. I think I'm getting old. I think if my beard is any sign, I think I'm getting a little old, so I don't really watch, like, for example, I don't watch Hassan Piker anymore. And it's not because I don't like Hassan Piker or I think he's dumb or anything like that. It's just that I don't know. I'm not his target audience. You know what I mean? It's not for me. And when I say it's not for me, I don't mean it's bad. I mean it's literally not for me. He's not talking to 45-year-olds. And when I watch Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland, I don't feel like I'm watching C-SPAN. I'm still entertained. There's still jokes, but I'm also like, I don't feel like I'm being talked to like I'm 20 either. You know, not that there's anything wrong with being 20. It's just I'm not that. Maneater also was like, and no one asked, no one said anything about, hey, do you love Hassan? No one asked that question, Maneater. You keep your feelings about Hassan to yourself. How about that? The only Jubilee I roll with shoots fireworks and runs with the with Wolverine. That's yep. Next Jubilee show, Jubilee knocks out 20 MAGA heads. I'm telling you, like, it's gonna be like Neil deGrasse Tyson versus 20 flat earthers. Okay, all right, let's watch it. You know, so they could just show up and say shit. You know what I mean? Wild. What do I get the tomatoes for? What do I get the tomatoes for? But even though it is not the Fallout Report Fridays, we are going to kick it off, as we always do, with Democracy Now! With Amy. She'll remind me. Amy something or another. What's her name? I wonder what Hassan's female to male ratio, audience ratio is. I think he's pretty good. I think he's pretty balanced out. He has a lot of speaking of, a lot of female followers, but not like only. Speaking of, mentions, where is it? Pinta home. Wait, where's the analytics part? For you, following, like, save, create new feed. Setting insights. Here we go. My threads. Shit, I cannot freaking speak for a second. My threads was interesting. Out of the, I think however many followers I have, like 1,300, 1,200, some shit like that. 36% are female, 34% are male, 20% are other. So 56.9% are female and other. Your boy is diversified. Okay, this place is a safe space, and they know it. He's easy on the eyes. I guess it helps. 100%. I don't even hate on it. Why isn't it one real Italian debates 20 people that like pineapple on pizza? Because I would be there. And it would be exactly how you expect it to go. I'm gonna yell, and he's gonna say like a mamma mia, and then do this a lot, and then I'm gonna be like, don't do that hand thing to me. It's just gonna be a mess. It's gonna be as effective, I'd say. And pineapple absolutely goes on pizza. Pineapple is delicious. I don't know. I'm rambling. Let's do this. Let's get into it. Let's get the news out the way, and then we can get into the Jubilee video, where we all can just be like, why are we watching this?
Please support our independent journalism at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Security forces loyal to Syria's new government have been accused of massacring hundreds of civilians in coastal Alawite and Christian communities after the government said it had launched a military campaign against fighters loyal to former President Bashar al-Assad. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reports at least 745 civilians have been killed in 29 massacres in Latakia and Tartus provinces since Thursday. Victims include children and the elderly, most of them killed execution style. The massacres came as some rebel fighters looked to punish the Alawite community because the Assad family belongs to the Alawite sect, which makes up 12% of Syria's population. Residents in Latakia condemn the massacres.
We don't want a sectarian war. We want to rebuild our country. We don't want bloodshed, neither from us nor them, because it won't change anything. There are those who benefit from war and don't want Syria to recover. They profit while civilians on both sides suffer. But we reject that. We want peace. We want our country to heal.
Amy Goodman, that's it. That's
Palestinians
it.
in the Gaza Strip are facing heightened threats of thirst, disease, and starvation after Israel's energy minister abruptly shut off all electric power to Gaza on Sunday. The blackout idled a wastewater treatment plant and drastically cut clean water output from Gaza's only functioning desalination plant. The power cuts came on the 8th day of Israel's renewed blockade of humanitarian aid shipments into Gaza. There were long lines at bakeries Sunday as people queued.
It's almost like destabilizing governments is a bad thing.
There's a siege on all of Gaza's people from all the borders. As you can see, we're waiting for our turn to get a bag of bread. All of these people waiting for a bag of bread. This is our situation. Gaza's people need aid, our brothers. There's a siege on all Gaza's people. We're all alike now, the wealthy and the poor. Everyone is trying to get a bag of bread.
Hamas condemned Israel's shutoff of power as a, quote, desperate attempt to pressure our people and their resistance through cheap and unacceptable blackmail tactics, unquote. An Israeli delegation is headed to Qatar today for a new round of Gaza's ceasefire talks, coming 10 days after the first phase expired. President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, is expected to join the talks Tuesday. Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthis have issued an ultimatum to Israel to lift its blockade of Gaza or face renewed attacks. Before January's ceasefire in Gaza, the Houthis launched more than 100 attacks on ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, as well as dozens of missile and drone attacks on Israel. Russian attacks on Ukraine killed at least 6 people today.
I would feel bad for them if they did that.
Major air raids across Ukraine, killing at least 24 people Saturday, nearly half of those in Donetsk region, and destroying energy infrastructure. Russia's stepped-up attacks come after the U.S. pulled much of its support from Kyiv following President Trump's Oval Office clash with President Volodymyr Zelensky, with Trump halting U.S. military aid, intelligence sharing, and as of Friday, the sharing of satellite imagery with Ukraine. On Friday, Trump defended Putin's ramped-up attacks.
Of course he did.
He's doing what anybody else would do. I think he wants to get it stopped and settled, and I think he's hitting them harder than he's been hitting them. And I think probably anybody in that position would be doing that right now.
President Zelensky's in Saudi Arabia for U.S.-led talks in his meeting.
Anytime I want to end a war, I increase the amount of damage I do to them. That's what I do.
There on Tuesday. Canada's governing Liberal Party has elected
He is
Mark
holding
Carney
on
as
to
its
Putin's
leader,
pocket like
setting
no
him up
other.
to replace Justin Trudeau as prime minister in the coming days. Carney's a graduate of Oxford and Harvard who spent over a decade at the Wall Street investment firm Goldman Sachs. He previously served as governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England before becoming an economic advisor to Trudeau. In his victory speech Sunday, Carney pledged Canada would win the trade war started by President Donald Trump.
The Americans want our resources, our water, our land, our country. Think about it. If they succeeded, they would destroy our way of life.
I love it.
Healthcare is a big business. In Canada, it is a right.
Carney is widely expected to call for a snap election.
We're to them what China is to us.
The Trump administration says it's stripping
Except they're right.
protections for 47,000 workers at the Transportation Security Administration, including the right to collective bargaining. American Federation of Government Employees National President Everett Kelly condemned the move as a, quote, pretext for attacking the rights of regular working Americans across the country because they happen to belong to a union, he said. On Friday, some 80,000 workers at the Department of Health and Human Services were offered lump sum payments of up to $25,000 if they agree by March 14th to resign. The buyout offer came after some federally funded researchers at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention received a survey.
They did the same thing in
how their work aligns
my
with
dad's
the goals
place,
of the Trump
and a lot of people
administration.
took it.
ABC News reports they were asked whether their research would help combat, quote, Christian persecution, unquote, defend women and children against so-called gender ideology extremism.
Christian persecution is when you vaccinate people.
Meanwhile, at the New York Times, the paper is reporting President Trump moved to rein in Elon Musk's power after an explosive cabinet meeting at the White House last Thursday. The Times reports Secretary of State Marco Rubio was incensed after Musk accused him of failing to fire enough staff at the State Department. Meanwhile, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy criticized Musk's cuts at the Federal Aviation Administration. Duffy reportedly said, quote, I have multiple plane crashes to deal with now, and your people want me to fire air traffic controllers, unquote. President Trump signed an executive order terminating security clearances of workers at Perkins Coie, the law firm that represented Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. A spokesperson for Perkins Coie called Trump's move patently unlawful and promised a legal challenge. This comes just weeks after Trump signed another executive order targeting the Washington, D.C. law firm Covington and Burling, which employs lawyers who worked in the Obama and Biden administrations and who
I do
recently
think that,
aided Jack
yes.
Smith, the special counsel's
Yes, I
11
think that he will
investigations
share. I think that Trump thinks that.
Immigration agents with the Department of Homeland Security have detained a Columbia University graduate student for helping lead campus encampment protests. Mahmoud Khalil, who's an Algerian citizen of Palestinian descent, is a green card holder and is married to a U.S. citizen. His wife is 8 months pregnant. Immigration
There's a bunch of
officials told
protests around
Khalil's
this
lawyer his
earlier
green
today.
card is being revoked. The journalist Prem Thakur, who broke the story and will be joining us on Democracy Now! Later in the
Literally for
broadcast,
supporting
says DHS
Palestine.
claims Khalil, quote, led activities aligned to Hamas, unquote. His arrest follows Trump's executive orders targeting free speech and protests on college campuses. The arrest came as the Trump administration withdrew $400 million in federal grants and contracts to Columbia University for failing to address so-called anti-Semitic harassment at its campus. In fact, Columbia repeatedly targeted Palestinian rights protesters on its campuses and called in police to brutally crack down on a peaceful student movement. We'll have more on these stories later in the broadcast.
That's exactly right there. I saw people cheering on this man possibly being deported. They don't realize if they could do it to him, they can do it to them too. He did 0 crimes. He was a permanent resident and committed 0 crimes. It's like, I don't like the way you talk about Israel. You're out.
Or fellowships until Georgetown Law School ends diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Acting U.S. Attorney Ed Martin made the threat in an email March 3rd, writing it's unacceptable that Georgetown Law, quote, continues to promote and teach DEI, unquote. Dean William Traynor wrote in response, quote, given the First Amendment's protection of a university's freedom to determine its own curriculum and how to deliver it, the constitutional violation behind this threat is clear, as is the attack on the university's mission as a Jesuit and Catholic institution, he wrote. Elected officials joined large crowds in Selma, Alabama Sunday to march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge commemorating the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. 85-year-old Spiver Gordon was one of those who followed the late civil rights leader turned Congressmember John Lewis across the bridge in 1965 when they were brutally attacked by Alabama state troopers.
There's a different day. Different flavor, but the same labor. We got Donald Trump now, and of course,
different flavor, but the same labor. Wow, I like that.
Stop us from moving forward. And of course, those of us who are of the movement know that we have to continue.
I need to put that on a. I need to put that on a shirt.
Transgender women prisoners have been transferred to federal men's prisons as part of Trump's order denying trans existence and rights. This, despite multiple court rulings blocking the policy. But court rulings so far have only shielded the 17 trans plaintiffs in the cases, leaving others vulnerable to relocation, where they have already reported sexual misconduct by prison guards and having thoughts of suicide.
Fuck
California
me, man.
Governor Gavin Newsom has come under fire by
Can you
fellow
imagine
Democrats after he
being a woman who's like,
characterized allowing transgender
nah,
athletes
you need to go to a
compete as
men's
deeply
prison?
unfair. He made the comments during an interview
Like that,
on his
that's going to be
podcast with
hell.
MAGA influencer
That'll be
Charlie
literal
Kirk.
hell.
In response, the organization Human Rights Campaign said, quote, "The path to 2028 isn't paved with the betrayal of vulnerable communities," unquote.
That's right.
A group of arts organizations focused on transgender and non-binary communities have sued the National Endowment for the Arts, or NEA, after it imposed new grant requirements conforming to Trump's executive order banning the promotion of so-called gender ideology.
You can't see it.
The ACLU, which is representing the plaintiffs, said this gag on artists'
Yeah.
Sexual misconduct by security guards?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the thing: is that shit happens anyway, right? Like when you look at these documentaries and these reports in men's prisons and women's prisons, you're gonna have sexual misconduct by guards and assaults and all kinds of things, not including the problem of assaults amongst the inmates. Now, take what already occurs, and you put a woman over there, a woman who is not respected as a woman, but has breasts, has hormone therapy, has like what? And no one's gonna give a fuck, by the way. Not one motherfucker is gonna give a shit about, when we see suicide rates spike. And they're gonna be like, good. Everybody who's a part of this decision, that's the worst part of it, is like, don't you see what you're doing? The harm is the point. That is exactly why when you tell them, but they're gonna harm themselves, they're gonna be harmed. In their mind, they can't say it out loud, but they're gonna go, good.
World from Broadway
Exactly.
to community arts centers, unquote. In Washington, D.C., drag performers led a protest outside the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts on Friday to protest President Trump's takeover of the institution.
And what's up, Primo?
Trump fired the Kennedy Center's president, replaced its board of trustees, and named himself chairman, writing that those fired, quote, "do not share our vision for a golden age in arts and culture," unquote. Drag performer Lord Henry spoke at the protest.
We demand that the Kennedy Center Board reinstate queer programming, including but not limited to drag-oriented workshops and shows, and any other equity and DEI initiatives at the Kennedy Center. We want to force Congress to drop the multiple attempts at criminalizing gender nonconformity, including Trump's executive order conflating sex and gender, and the attack on drag artists through budget amendments, denying funds to organizations, supporting and protecting this queer art form, as well as so much more.
And rallies took place across the globe Saturday to mark International Women's Day. Here in the United States, protesters largely focused on Trump and the Republican Party's attacks on women and the LGBTQ+ community. This is a rally goer in New York.
I can't believe we're here again for this, and that women's rights consistently are under attack. And not only are women's rights under attack, but our less fortunate, our Black family, our LGBTQ family. There are very scary and very real things in Project 2025, and we are seeing that book becoming the law of the land over the Constitution.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report, conforming to Trump's executive order banning the promotion.
Okay, so we're good. We all edified. We all have we've all been fed with some news. I feel like today's almost like a holiday, because even though this will be extremely frustrating to watch, it's pretty much brain rot. So the main core of today's show is all brain rot, because if you weren't here at the beginning, we're going to watch Sam Seder talk to 20 morons, which is pretty much how every single Jubilee goes. Let's put an expert and surround them by morons, or not even an expert. Just let's put a public figure who probably shouldn't even be talking about their issue, and then surrounded by other morons, and then they're just gonna yell at each other. And I think Jubilee is hearing a lot of the criticisms that people are raising against it, because as you'll see in this video, they'll do some like pop-ups and some fact checking. But again, like I said at the beginning, they're not going to be able to do that every time, because the facts are always going to be biased towards the left, because that is how facts work. And especially in today's day and age, the right just can't seem to wrap their head around that. By the way, SMR, being in Oklahoma, you know what we should do? We should set up something where we put a voice changer on you, because I could do this from here. Put a voice changer on you, like blur out your camera, and then you can be like that, like the silhouette is like, yeah, in Oklahoma, and then you just like, because it's all like, that was me doing the like the sky's the voice thing. And then you could tell me firsthand about what the fuck is going on in Oklahoma. That said, let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Sam Seder, host of the Majority Report, and today I am surrounded by 20 conservatives. My first claim is Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power.
All right. Sorry, Sam.
No worries.
All right. I think I have a slight issue with the back end of the premise. I guess Trump's attacks on DEI being a real goal to, give corporations more power. I'd rather center the conversation around the democratic, especially as conservatives, the issues that people have with DEI, and why I believe Trump would, want to support the issues that, people are voting for him for.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA, right? You know that.
Right.
In government agencies. The A being
You
for
didn't know that.
accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the
Right,
attack
right,
on
yeah,
DEI
yeah,
isn't an
yeah,
attack
yeah.
on people's protections. It's on the other end of the spectrum, right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being inaccessible to get into a job. It rather wants to de-incentivize corporations to push them to hire these people on unfair bases, right?
Okay, but DEIA is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that have the opportunity to apply to these things.
Right.
So it can mean, within government agencies, it means things like, let's pay interns so that not only wealthy people can have their kids do internships in these agencies.
Right.
Or let's put out notices around different parts of town, metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job exists.
Right. And this is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well, then
That's a claim.
why rescind DEIA requirements in government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is there may not be like perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it devolves into, and especially with corporations,
Do you have the evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we can look at corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true, proper bases. We can even look at.
I mean,
we can even look at.
Would you
the
have
DNC's,
any evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even
Yeah,
the
trust me.
DNC's, nomination of Kamala as
Yeah,
president.
like,
There's
look,
no
Kamala
reason
Harris.
to nominate Kamala.
Hello,
She wasn't
there's my evidence.
Selected. She wasn't. She didn't go through a single primary. None of these things.
So you're saying that Kamala was the vice president of the United States after the president drops out 2 months before the convention, you think that's a DEI
She wasn't
hire?
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that
Do
party,
you realize
except
there were
for
not
Kamala
even
Harris.
primaries prior to 1972
Well,
in
sure,
the Democratic
but this
Party?
this isn't before 1972.
Well, I understand, but what did
This
you
is,
think
know,
you were going to run primaries in those 2 months?
Well,
I mean,
sure,
Joe Biden should have dropped out
even
3 years
even
ago, as far as I'm
before,
concerned.
well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primaries, she didn't. She
Okay.
wasn't the next man up. None of this. She wasn't the next person.
Well, she
up.
was the vice president.
Right, of course, but
Yeah.
she wasn't
That
in
tiny
primaries.
detail. But
Right,
listen,
well,
aside from that, I might have wanted a.
I like
different
little
candidate as well. But
pokes like
has
that.
nothing to do with Trump rescinding orders that basically say
That's
you
right.
need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility
Nah.
for people who have physical hands.
Your whole office is
You
black.
have,
I'm sure they got the melanin down.
Folks who identify
You got
as,
it, 'cause you speak
as
Spanish.
trans. You need to make it at least hospitable and not. This is all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all
But you're
about.
cherry picking the portions of DEI that even conservatives don't have issues. Conservatives don't have issues
That's
with
what
making workplaces.
The whole DEI
Yes.
apparatus within our
is-
government
okay.
was a function of doing exactly
It
what I
is-
said. Had nothing to do with quotas. Or
This is the problem with Jubilee right here. So what Sam Seder's talking about is, here is the concrete, like, here is the definition of DEI. Here are the policies that DEI policies. Here are the bullet points that DEI policies execute. Right? And what do? They say, hey, make sure there's training so people are aware of different cultures. Make sure that you put out job applications in various parts of the neighborhood so that you're not just getting it from, if you only put it in the Wall Street Journal, then your applicants might be a little bit the pool might be a little smaller. How about that? Now, these are things that you could look up. Like, when you look up DEIA policies, you can look them up and list them out. If you say that's not all they're doing, they're also doing X, Y, and Z, okay, show me that. Show me how they're doing that. Give me an example. Well, now we're going to talk about Kamala Harris. Well, was she hired based off of DEIA policies? Does the federal government? No, that's not. You're just being, at that point, you're just being racist. Like, oh, a black woman got the job, so that's what I mean. So he's telling on himself at that point. At that point, he knows, well, okay, I'm not talking about actual concrete policies, like a program that's been instated. No, I'm talking about, did black person get job? See? Proof. DEI.
It's unfortunate that those things get taken out, and there might not have been specific
What
numerical
else was he trying to
quotas.
take out with
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting pushed into
There is
positions they have no qualification.
There is no evidence of what you just said happening in these government agencies.
That'd be dope.
I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up for you. You can't,
Give me one example.
You can't ask me to pull up numbers when I'm not able to sit here and look on a
You can't ask me for proof, evidence. That's not fair. I'm supposed to yell a claim, then you have to yell a claim. This is Jubilee, bro. Just yell claims at each other. And then we get voted off, and we'll go to the next person.
computer for you, but these are the problems.
You've been voted off the island.
You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
I'll tell you what, Sam Seder has the patience of a saint. Because I have...
See ya.
Okay. So we have here a conservative black man. What is the over-under on that hairline? What is going on? Right? Is he gonna be sharp? Is he gonna be shaped up? Who knows? Let's check it out.
Okay, so I think the roots issue with DEI isn't what the previous gentleman was trying to point. Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things like accessibility.
Not as bad as most. He's not out here. What was that guy's name? Walker from Georgia. It's not too bad. Not too bad. Not great. Not bad.
Like the people who
maybe he's a new conservative.
The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems get abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was
I know what you meant.
abused in practice. It was great in theory. It's idealistic, which is sure.
Christian Walker, yeah. No, not Christian Walker. Christian Walker is the young dude, the dad.
Actors, like we're in California right now. When you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not want white men. We're not gonna cast any white men. We only want this particular kind of gender, race, right? That is an abuse of a system. It's no longer fair,
Herschel Walker,
but more about just perpetuating one aspect of, visual compelling aspects. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse. Okay, and what that is it's moral grandstanding. It's that because we have more black women,
again,
we're better,
more baseless claims. You just say, here's the things I'm gonna say.
That's getting a little far afield from
I saw clips about Blondie.
I can tell you, as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me. And I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around basically every part of television when I was a kid. I was centered.
That dude with the bun pisses me
off.
It was
either this is about my mother, or this is about my father, or someone like me was centered. So, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there is no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances. It was about anti-discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people. Again, the internship is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people. My kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going to get a job.
I think what's happening is we're talking about 2 different things.
But I'm talking about Trump's DEIA rescission is a...
Well, one is, they're not talking about 2 separate things. They're talking about DEI. One is talking about DEI as it exists in reality, and the other one is talking about, here are my claims about DEI that I have no way of substantiating.
Of basically driving people out of these agencies, making
people keep repeating this too, and I'm sure we'll hear it here sometime during this video, that there are already laws on the books. That's already illegal. And what people don't understand is, a lot of times whenever these laws are made, the government then asks, okay, we say, here's the law. Now, what program do we use to execute it, right? Like, for example, wearing your seatbelt is the law. But if we keep seeing people not wear the seatbelts and we just keep on handing out tickets, what else can we do to get people to wear tickets? Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do random checks for seatbelts, and we're going to have people go through checkpoints. And that's a program. That's a thing we're going to do to make sure we're in compliance with the other. When we start talking about discrimination, when we start talking about this sort of stuff, yes, it's already against the law. But now DEI programs are there to help you execute that in an efficient way. You know what I mean? In education, policy is a board of education implementing a law. Exactly that.
You're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of the American people have kind of rejected DEI because, again,
I don't think a majority of Americans know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is we're talking about abuse of a system. What you're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. What people were seeing were, hey, because you're white, you can't do this. And liberals like to do this thing where they create systems, and then they created the whole idea of
but
woke,
did it
and
happen?
backed away, and then conservatives say woke, and then they're like, well, we don't know what woke is. They created DEI. Biden literally said Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is a black woman, and then all of a sudden Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden literally said that. And then we have this cognitive dissonance as if we're not living in reality.
Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president.
But so why did
See, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is why I don't understand how he's so patient.
There was an opportunity for
Watch.
a black woman to be his vice president.
Like this right here is the epitome of stupid. It's just, I don't know what else to call it. Like, because it's not about ignorance at that point, right? It's not about like I don't have the information. It's I'm not mentally equipped to have the conversation, and I don't know how to talk to those kind of people. So I am so happy that there are people like Sam Seder out there, because I tell you what, it couldn't be me, because they hear those words and they're like, see? Like, this guy's like, oh my God, how does Sam Seder not see it? He didn't pick Kamala Harris because she was black. He said, I was going to pick from black women and make sure they're qualified. Now, if you don't understand that, that's because you have been diseased. You have been you have holes in your brain from worms, because, well, let's just be real. If you look like this person, you just have self-hate. If you don't look like him, then you're just a fucking racist. The fact of the matter is, obviously, there's going to be somebody qualified to be the vice president of the United States among black women. And so for you to not understand that means that you think it's possible that if you take all the black women in the United States, all the black women in government who are lawyers, judges, policymakers, lawmakers, and say, it is possible that none of them are qualified to be the vice president of the United States. And if you think that, then you are either rotten with self-hate or a piece of shit racist.
So why did Democrats move away from that and say, no, it wasn't because she was a black woman? So my point is that
it's not because she's a black woman.
But that's what they said. I can agree that it's not because she's a black woman, but that's what they said. Why did they say that then?
No, because there are plenty of black women, right? Like, he could have picked anybody, but he picked specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
Shit.
No,
I don't believe that.
No, that's not what conservatives aren't saying, that there are.
Yes, that is exactly the problem.
In the Republican Party right now, and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife. And
yeah.
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the cabinet.
No, but if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, his wife would be lauded all over everything because of her color of her skin.
I'm not here to defend the Democrats.
Do you think there isn't any white Democrats with non-white wives? Or else they would have been lauded everywhere and paraded around. Like, who does that? Who is a Democrat with a non-white wife that parades them around?
Choice on every policy, but there is one party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white. And that's just the reality of it.
So does that
Some
mean
people
that?
don't necessarily have a problem with that.
But here's the thing. You said even if let's just say, okay, that's true. 80% of Republicans are white. Does that mean that they're less moral? That they can't run an effective government? What does race have to do? What does race have to do? Hold on. What does
Donald Trump didn't have to say my vice president's going to be a white male.
No.
Because they all knew it was going to be.
No, this is the premise of DEI. What does race have to do with running an effective government? What does race have to do? If let's say DEI on the micro level.
I will tell you right now.
DEI on the micro level at McDonald's.
I'll tell you.
Am I going to get better nuggets?
I'll ask you a question.
Look, if you're white, you can make nuggets. If you're black, you can make nuggets. I don't give a fuck who makes my nuggets. Just hire the right person. Now, okay, if they happen to all be white and they happen to shut out people of color, then hey, man, that's just the way shit goes, you know? Bro, come on.
Cashier is black or white? What does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you what it is. First of all, DEIA means that if
Yeah.
you come into this...
You know why? You know why though, Carp? Is because I guarantee you it's not for the topic. It's for Sam Seder. And I think the reason why we're all watching it is a sign of how much people respect Sam Seder. They're like, Sam Seder? That's a smart motherfucker. You know? And it's like, I want to see how he handles this. And I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm here doing it. So
agency or corporation, you're not going to be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else or you don't have the same like physical abilities as everybody
That's it, exactly it right there. Manager says, you know what this is? All this is their belief in eugenics. They cannot comprehend that black and brown people have the intellectual capacity to hold positions of power or positions that are deemed reputable. Their belief in us having low IQs is what stems their anti-DEI beliefs. Yeah, and that is the baseline. That is like the black woman pilot? DEI. Are you supposed to expect me to believe that a black woman went to pilot school and was good enough to fly this plane? Clearly she, and if she's not black, then she slept her way there, you know, even though DEI applies to women too, but you know, they don't really get that. You know who really doesn't get it? White women. White conservative women. They didn't realize, just like what happened with affirmative action. One of the biggest groups helped by affirmative action was white women. Fucking idiots.
So you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does. But does it make a government better?
No, it doesn't. It means you hate white people. That's what it means.
Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No.
We don't?
No.
Do we or do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting loans? It's all statutes. It's all statutes.
Is this true? Is Jubilee a right-wing channel? I did not know that.
And in these government
You're gonna love the man bun guy.
Agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
I'm gonna tap out because I think someone else has a better can defend that point specifically better than me.
All right, please return to your seat.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
This guy right here, infuriating. I'm gonna go ahead and poison the well right now. Infuriating.
Okay, when it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist,
yeah,
he would hire someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy to protect?
Because racist people exist, you stupid fuck.
Protect a person if we've moved past racism.
Oh, see, this is why I couldn't do it. I couldn't fucking do it. I couldn't do it. How do you stand there That's it. It would be, I don't know. I would black out. I would wake up, there'd be blood everywhere, it'd be crazy.
So would you consider yourself racist?
Wait, are you suggesting we've moved
Yes.
past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do to some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that. So I guess going to the
Are you?
LGBT topic, it seems like it's very prevalent for you as an issue.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they haven't demonized them. They simply want protections back for their own children, because children are being stripped away from
Who's
their
their
parents.
own children?
Protecting them from who? Protecting them from who? And why do they need protection from them?
Children are being stripped away from their parents?
Yes, due to AB 954, they've now included gender identity as a premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who agree with their children's doctors to provide gender-affirming care?
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions.
Yes.
With the kids,
If a child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change.
That's how I make my decisions. I think to myself, what are you allowed to do? And then I say, are you allowed to have sex? Wait a minute. Did he say you can't have sex until you're 18? Maybe he means consent. Okay, maybe you can't consent to somebody over 18. Okay, but yeah, that's how I do. Can you do that? Hey, can I go to the carnival? You can't even drink. Why would I let you go to a carnival? That's like my baseline. If you can't drink, you can't do it.
Now, in terms of a DEI initiative,
Yeah.
The reason why there's military bans on trans women and trans men is because they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly.
Yeah, that right there, this right here. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be vulnerable with y'all for a second here. During this part, I actually had to like stop and like do a little like self-reflection. I had to like digest the anger I was feeling because I wanted to like, I asked myself, is this homophobia? You know what I mean? Am I getting irritated by his like sassiness? And it wasn't. It was exactly what Carp said right here. It's the tone of that fake I'm calm and you're not, and I'm really like that condescending, like you are trying, you're like, I get it, but I get you're stupid and you don't understand, but do you? And like that, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking stab somebody in a video game. I'm gonna go to Call of Duty and I'm gonna equip the melee. Just win like that.
Undergoing hormone treatment, as well as depression pills, as well as different mood stabilizer pills. And so when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to bring an ice cooler pack with you?
Do you really think you're going to bring an ice cooler pack?
Hormone or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the opposing.
This shit right here is, I don't understand how the United States could be at a literal war, multi-front war for 20 plus years, and people do not understand that pew pew military is like 2% of the military. 2% of the military. Like if you ever meet somebody in the military, you should think you didn't see war at all way before you think that they were doing some Black Hawk Down shit. It is you have a very, very small portion of the military that does combat, and then the entire apparatus around it to support that combat, right? Not to mention there's operations that don't involve combat, like space operations or cyber operations and intel and all this other shit that goes on, right? But But if you are somebody who has to take estrogen, they're probably not going to be allowed to be a Green Beret, you stupid fuck. But you know what somebody who needs to take estrogen can do? They could be in S1. They could do admin work. They could become a medic. They could be a doctor. They could be a lawyer. They could be a clergyman. They could be fucking supply. They could be vehicle maintenance. They could be aircraft maintenance. They could be age equipment. They could be... Bro.
Well, the executive orders that Trump gave were
She go a raspberry
orders that
beret.
had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
The
Facts.
FDA, they just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well,
what are we talking about here?
Okay, well,
So that's not true. I'm glad that these people don't keep up with shit. So that was actually, now what is true, which should still be alarming, is that somebody literally took that out of the lesson plan, thinking it was in compliance with Trump's deal. And I want to know who that person is. I want to know, hey, who thought our commander-in-chief says no more DEI, so let's take out learning about the Tuskegee Airmen. They turned it. It's back in. It's back in. Like it was like within 24 hours, it was back in the lesson plans. Turn up the sound. Yeah, we'll do.
They're rewriting history.
well, that's your perspective, right? But at the end of the day, if a person...
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree, existed. Right?
Oopsie, yeah.
If you were racist, right, and you were an employer, and if you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would.
If somebody was going to want to be racist, they would just be racist, and this helped hide that, you know? Like, what if I want to see people do racist shit in hiring? Like, I think I should be allowed to see that if I want.
DEI essentially provides tax cuts. For the end of the year, when you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color. I don't know if you knew that.
In these agencies?
In agencies and private
in government
businesses.
agencies, they don't get tax cuts for hiring people.
And the other thing I wanted
this is
to,
to protect people from discrimination.
The other thing I want to kind of state here is that I've realized that a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize is you're actually doing more harm than good by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on...
You say, hey, you hire these people and you make them believe like they could actually, you know, fly planes or lead companies. Like, and then they just have this idea that they're somehow equal to the whites, and they're not. And I think that does a lot of damage to somebody's self-image, because they don't understand that they are lesser, and we need them to understand that.
DEIA is not.
It's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color,
no,
physical
it
attributes.
Says that the people who
you
work
don't know
in
what
your
DEI
agency,
means.
It's about anti-discrimination.
Discrimination against what?
Against people who may have different cultural mores, may have different...
But that's irrelevant to a job, right? It should be based on
No,
merit.
it's not. No, it's not. Look, he's shaking his head. No, it's not. It's not about culture. It's not about religion. It's not about gender. It's if you're black, okay? Stop trying to confuse me with all these facts. It's black or not black. That's DEI.
And that is the emphasis
People
here.
get hired as a merit, but if the DEI, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of these orders
If you received a
on these
tax cut
agencies.
as an employer, wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
if you could pay them less?
Listen, we're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. They don't. Government agencies.
They don't.
No,
yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
every private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
See, this is the thing right here. This is the thing. Wait, what happened? Oh my God, the feds just found Robo. The Twitch bugged out on me. Oh, we're offline. What's going on? Is that what's going on? Drop frame 0. It says healthy. Are you guys back? Scramble, scramble. The helicopters are coming. Oh, YouTube side. Something's happening on the YouTube side. Let's see here. Oh, it's down. It's down on the YouTube side. Ain't that some shiza? Error. Your stream has been temporarily blocked because we detected... Oh! We detected video belonging to someone else. Please ensure that the content owner... Man... Yeah. Come over to Twitch. YouTube is being a hoe. See, I don't like YouTube. Ain't that some shit? Jubilee, yeah. Jubilee's like, nah. You're not saying enough positive stuff about here. Robo's gonna be pissed when he comes back. Oh, shit. Let me make sure. Let's see. Twitch.tv, LeftFace TV. All right. Ain't that some shit? YouTube, yo ho. Okay.